in the Sumerian time and the history there, they reference the heavens. They're talking about the silver bracelet on the asteroid belt, from where supposedly Earth, been on Earth, called Tiamat at that time, set in that orbit, and a great collision 4.5 billion years ago put it into this orbit, taken along with one of the collision causers moons with it, which is our moon. And to explain the differences in the geology and why they can't get it together, and the elements that formed at two different times, a lot of things comes to light. But I don't want to get in too deep into that. That's all out there, and anybody can get into it and cover it. I just wanted to explain what about this, who would be here 20,000 years ago. So that's the only purpose of that. I'm sorry?
That gets into the Zechariah Sitchin books and a whole other...
That and others. The tablets are in museums all over the world, can be looked at themselves without, what somebody else says. It's very general knowledge by now. But yes, Zechariah Sitchin is the one who did all the scholastic work, the academic work he's renowned for, in relating to us who the Sumerians were and that time. So I would refer to people to go to him to see who was here at the time we're talking about, because I've got my hands full just getting us to there. 200,000 years ago, 20,000 years is enough to upset the apple cart, just in itself.
So the clock is ticking. Let's go back and talk about the composition of the wall, so we don't miss.
Okay, let's talk about the composition. I keep referring to we refer to the wall as the rock wall. Actually, the composition, and this was determined back in the 40s and 50s. It was tested again, and it's been tested by me again. And the composition is made up of extremely heavy minerals. They're all crystals and precious stones. Now, I'm going to list them for you here. You get on the website and see its density, specific gravity, and its percentage there, and get the weight. That's where our weight and hardness comes from, is these crystals. And it's 55% made up of zircon. 17% of it is garnet. 13% of it is tourmaline. 2% is rutile. 2% is staurolite. 10% is titanite. And 1% is bookite. And that is the composition of the stone, which totally is composed of all crystals and precious stones.
Just to be
so it's really not a rock wall. It's a metamorphic crystalline structure. That's the nature of the stone.
Let me be specific.
Its hardness. I'm sorry.
Let me be specific so we know the stones themselves. You're talking about those and not the mortar that's holding them together.
No. That's two different elements whatsoever.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
They're 180 degrees from each other. And let me list the further characteristics of stone, then we'll talk about that. So-called concrete material covering the wall. Okay. So the composition is as I've listed. Because it is all crystal, we found out, I won't go into the details, it's an electronic and its acoustic properties of the wall is piezoelectric. In other words, when you get a vibration going on that wall, it roars at you and it puts out electrical currents that will light up light bulbs or anything else.
Say that again?
We found that it's piezoelectric, and we found this by a tractor and its tracks running about 2 feet above the wall without touching it, and the vibrations of the motor tuning into the frequency of the crystal, much like back in Boy Scouts or young kids, crystal radios, same deal, and setting it off. Well, it began to roar at us. He even heard it on the tractor, And I didn't know what was going on. The whole ground was rolling as far as we could hear, and it got deeper and bigger. Well, what astounded me is through the sound, I had a visualization of the enormity of this wall. That's what kept striking me about it. And then through further investigation with the geologists, found out, oh, it's piezoelectric. It would do that. Okay? Now, going back to other attributes of the stone, its hardness, it's a very hard stone in the wall. By the way, the stone in the rock wall is the only rock that's in Rockwall. There is no other in the rivers, in the creeks, other than what's been brought into Rockwall. There is no other stone that's ever been found in Rockwall County that hasn't been brought in. So it's foreign to the nature of this geological column to even have stone present. But the stone is very hard, and we measured it on the Moore scale. It's an 8, a diamond being 10. So it took me with a 20-pound sledgehammer, I think Bud Shelton denotes in his paper, to even crack the stone because he tried. So it's a very, very hard stone. The stone density is 40.08 grams per cubic centimeter. It's very heavy. It's heavier than granite or marble or any other things we know. It weighs, I've had it tested, it's over 200 pounds a cubic foot, where marble and granite is 175 pounds cubic, just to give you a relationship. So it's a very heavy stone, and it gets its heaviness primarily from the zircon that's in it, zircon and garnet. Those are the two heaviest materials and where it gets its weight. Let's see, where am I here? Oh, yeah, there's one other thing before we get into the so-called mortar. The stone wall is very magnetic in the nature of it, and that has to do with its crystalline value. Now, the earth, the magnetism in the earth is measured in gausses, Gausses.
Right.
And the earth has naturally 5/10 of a Gauss, or half a Gauss. Okay? This wall, we put the instruments on it, and it measures up to 40 Gausses. Real high magnetic output. And the reason we did this, because they started, the surveyors and all started bringing their computerized instruments out there, and they'd get them near the wall, they'd spin and burn up. Is because of that high magnetism, just why the reason you can't put a magnet near a CD disc without erasing it. Just the magnetism is destruction.
I'll be done.
So that was a very unique possibility. So we got a very hard stone. It's primary crystal. It's really high in its magnetic values. It's very hard. It's piezoelectric, and is metamorphous crystalline structure. So that makes it very unique. So that's the composition and what we're really talking about in this wall here. Now, in conjunction with this wall, we found, as they've always found, a gray, soft, powdery, real fine powdery material that's been referred to as a mortar. It's in between the joints. And in my dig, I found that it coats the complete outside of the wall, outside only, of the perimeter, about 1.5 inches thick. And when we dig it up, it's soft. It's real taut in its value, and it's very easy to pull off out of the way to see the joints. But there's a unique aspects of the nature of it. First of all, and through testing of it and through microscopic observations and all, we find that the mortar of the wall is very, very soft. Diamonds being hard at 10, talc being at 1, this has a softness of 2. Now, you leave it exposed to the air over 24 hours, as they found out back in the 1800s and all, it becomes harder than concrete at 3,000 psi poured in the streets. So when it dries up and exposed to the air, it becomes very hard. Now, the structure of it under a microscope is a 50-50 structure made up of round balls, BBs, and tetrahedrals, much like ball and jacks. And these all fit together very tight. And that's what makes the wall impenetrable to water. Water atoms cannot get through the penetration of this crystalline structure here, as the geologists have explained to me. So it's water, it's a vapor barrier to the wall, which then leads me back to the seawall, or protecting the wall with a coating that's water is impenetrable to. Okay? So that's the nature of this mortar that's found in the wall. It's pretty phenomenal, that in itself. So here we have two materials connected together that don't belong here and are totally opposite of each other. That should be enough to study right there.
That's just amazing.
And ask questions about that within itself.
We've got about 14 minutes left. There's a couple of...
I'm sorry, we got what?
About 14 minutes left. Is there...
Okay.
Can I ask you a couple of questions from listeners?
Sure.
One is, and we'll get to whether this is even going to be done, but if you were going to do a very extensive dig, how much would that cost in millions of dollars? A really, really high...
Well, it depends. Okay, that's a good question. It depends on what you want to do with that. I actually went through a process, designed a place to dig, expose the wall, how to cure it in place, and a museum to go with it, and how to protect it so people could go back thousands of years, even millions of years at the strata. And that never came into fruition. It's been planned. But if I were to do a dig, first, now knowing how to dig, I know better how to protect the wall, because we had catastrophe happen because of rains. Not rains pushing over the wall, but remember I talked about the expansiveness of the soil?
Right.
It will defy concrete foundations. So during rains, it would swell and push our wall over. Now, what I should have done, and we'll do in the next dig, was cover it. Where we're going to excavate, you want to get it covered. We had ditches and water, surface water, come about. We had protected the wall from that. But we couldn't protect it from rain falling on. So first of all, I would cover it with tents or some mechanism so you can get the equipment in there.
Keep it all dry.
And that would protect the freestanding wall until it hardened up. And I would do that different. And then it's going to take big equipment and a lot of muscle to get through this blue shale. We only could get a few inches every day with a heavy-duty bulldozer. And I don't let them come within 2 or 3 feet of the wall. The rest are hand dug up to it.
Wow.
So if we were going to do it, how much would it cost? You'd want to start with $1 million for a year dig. I only know that because at one time I was promised a grant which didn't pan out. And so I planned the monies. I went to my accountants. I went to CPAs. I went to my attorneys, and knowing what equipment and what we'd need for 1 year study of the wall. And that was where the numbers came up, $1 million. Now, that's for a dig to expose it. And I want to get down 50 or 60 feet, and I want to protect the wall because that's where the base lies. And we know what's under it. It's limestone because I know that from the bedrock of the river. The natural currents down 100 feet below us before the lake covered it. But anyway, as far as the cost of the wall, it's something that's very tricky, and care has to be taken to protect it during the dig. And then you're going to need equipment to get the blue shale overburden out of the way to expose it. Okay?
Okay.
I hope that answered your question as
Yeah, I think it
as
did.
definitive
So,
as I could.
so you'd have to do something like that. And another question is, has anybody been able to determine the source of the stone? I mean, is it anywhere from Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma,
No,
Arizona? Anybody
it
know?
does not. There's only one other place that it repeats itself. And I got this from Dr. Davidowitz's work in a book I got on his great work on the pyramids at Giza. He's a geochemist, and he knows what he's doing. He went to Giza and did some phenomenal research. Well, in the king's chamber are stones, and it's not just the sarcophagus that's in there. There are stones in there that surround the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid at Giza on the plateau, which, according to Davidowitz and how he lists his materials of the wall, exactly matches that of the stone composition of the rock wall in Rockwall.
Well, that's a little farther away than Arkansas.
No, nowhere else has any geologist been able to give it. You know, they wanted to name the stone after me, Lindsey, out because of the skull. I said, no, it's not necessary. So I don't think it's stuck. It doesn't matter. It's not about me anyway. But the point I'm making, it's rare. It's never been found to go before. It's not been seen before by any geologist, any archaeologist, but it does show up at Giza Plateau. So I'll leave that open for others to. I just do the research and find, and there's going to have to be others after me that carry on with this. So.
Okay, that
anyway,
kind of leads us into, well, this is something that you and I discussed today, and anything we do in human endeavor has a political element, and you know where I'm about to go.
I got some static there. Would you repeat that again?
I said everything we do in our human endeavors has a political element, and you know where
Absolutely.
I'm about to go with this.
Yeah, I found out on my own.
What are the political implications of doing a dig like that, and what are the political implications of the local people in Round Rock and the people who run the city?
I mean Rockwall.
Rockwall. Yeah.
Right.
Rockwall. Rocks.
Yeah, I know. And really there's no rocks at all. It's just crystal, huh?
Right.
I can partly answer that question, but mostly I can't. Because I'm sorry to say, I could not get any feedback from anybody, any officials, particularly elected officials in Rockwall. I will make this statement, which I've found surprising. One of our previous mayors, I'm not going to name any names here, one of our previous mayors, since I'd worked on this wall, I had sat on the Architectural Review Board for 17 years in Rockwall, got many projects myself, as well as redesigned the square, and I'm well known around there. I met our then present mayor 4 different times. He, in front of me, he wanted me, he really was interested in the wall, but when he got away from me, he was afraid of me. And so much so that every time I met him, I was a new person to him. So what does that say? It is weird. Now, I've talked about the political aspect of the big landowners, and I can understand that. But what flabbergasted me, I had people from all over the world come out. We had an excavation out there. Well, I spoke in Dallas and had 2 big bus loads of people that came out from all over the United States to view the wall. Newspapers wouldn't run any articles on it. Nobody in Rockwall knew about it. I did everything I could to get it out and invite people, but I couldn't get it out. And now, well, people ask me, well, why didn't I hear about it? I says, you go to others. I did everything I could to get it out, but it would not come out there. Now, the handful of people that did know are the ones that kept me from promoting it. Their excuses were, oh, I wanted to get rich and make money off of it. No. As a matter of fact, I had to go in bankrupt. I lost my house and my business, everything due to this, because I latched on to promises of, of, of grants and things that didn't pan out, that I had been backed up by my lawyers and accountants. This is fair game. This is going to work. Well, it turned out to be a scam. Well, it left me holding the bucket. I did this just for sheer interest. So all the accusations and all the, they're just don't know what they're talking about, and it's because they don't know. So I can't answer what their response would be, because mostly nobody knows about it. I now go back to Rockwall, and I'm pretty glad that I don't have many photographs of me out there, but when they find out who I am back there doing work or something, oh Lord, they really have to meet me and want to know more about it. And they ask me, well, why don't you come out and speak to us? And I say, well, I've offered and offered. Nobody will give me a platform. So I know that's not much of an answer, but it's all I can give you. And I can't answer why, other than the controversial aspect of it. But these are not my sayings. I didn't make this up. I've been very clear about my conjectures, but you can't deny the facts. And the questions that you bring up, well, I hear the facts, I ask you, okay, you ask the questions, or you give me some answers. What do you think? And that's how I approach people now. They ask me, well, here are the facts, what do you think? And because I'm not, I did this because I wanted to know. And it'd been hem-hawed around all these years, and now I think I know why nobody was able to do a proper scientific study. Because I did. It got me everywhere and nowhere. But they can't take that away from me. So, nevertheless.
And I understand you've written a
book. I'm here to share with anybody who wants to further explore this. We got still a lifetime of questions that's got to be answered of what we have. I still have hundreds of tests that can be done that cost money and things and means to do this. But I don't know. I've done this, and I want to do more. But right now, I've got to take care of me. Because that broke me. I guess that's why my title of my book I'm working on, which is Third Writing, it's in editing right now. Is going to be titled Up Against the Wall. Appropriately
Great
so.
Title.
what you know about it, appropriately so. But nevertheless, I could go on and on and on. There's many spin-offs you could go. I still got tons of data and stuff I could give you, but we have to draw a line here somewhere. There's only so much time. But it's just fascinating, and I'm interested in sharing this information with anybody that's interested. I now have academic structure behind me, backing from Yale University, Department of Archaeology, and Texas Tech University, Dr. Judd Burton, PhD from the biblical archaeologist here, and Dr. L.A. from Yale University, a professor there. They came down and interviewed me about 3 months ago. This had been set up for several months, and they heard about me and wanted to come down talk about it. Well, I invited them that Sunday evening. They came down, and they brought a whole film crew from California with them. I said, wow, what's going on? And they told me, well, sorry, but we wanted natural reactions and didn't tell you, but can we film you? And I said, sure, come on in. I'm very comfortable with this. No problem. So they brought the film crew. We spent 3 hours here in my studio and at the house Well, I have all these artifacts, all these photos and everything, and so they've got this 3 hours, and they're going to, as they told me, cut it down to a 1 hour TV special. I'm so interested, I didn't even ask when or where. Just like I didn't ask you today until what to call it as a radio station or when, what was going on. Because my interest is in the wall and not what it can make me or that aspect, which I get a whole lot of, and it gets in my way. But I've learned how to cut that off. But nevertheless, bottom line is, I now have academia on my side because of what I've done. And they told me not to be bashful anymore about time links and everything, because they totally concur with me. And more on this is going to be coming out. And when my book does come out, it's everything is very structured and detailed with complete bibliography. So, and it speaks what it speaks.
John, I really do
I'm
appreciate.
just the carrier of the messenger. I'm sorry.
I really do appreciate all your time. We thought we weren't going to be able to fill an hour and a half, and we got another 3 hours to go.
Well, I told you. One thing I can't do is I cannot do 30-minute, 20-minute these luncheon lectures. That's just an impossible task. And now you see why.
I understand. We've got one more question we're going to end with. And I think it's for both of us, for me as well. It says, have you experienced much extraterrestrial activity around this area? Not since I've been in the area. And I don't know about you. Kind of leads into the UFO discussion, but
I get more of it out here. I get more of it out here in Lubbock than I do there.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, I haven't. There is a site. David, you and I know David Campbell, just a phenomenal guy who's worked with me on this, as many others. I'd go on with the people that I couldn't have done this without. But David and I got in trouble with up between Rockwall and Denton one Saturday morning, going out to some property that is deemed you don't trespass on. As it turns out, they had sensors out there. They caught him. They didn't catch me. But I turned around. We backed out when the big boys came out and stopped us. We were going into area that they do not allow flyovers. It's a very hush-hush deal. Whether it's a crashed UFO or another wall system found, we don't know. But there's something that the Black Ops are hiding big time, and we found that out firsthand.
Now, is this around Lubbock?
Something tells me there's some conjunction here with that and this wall.
Is that around Rockwall or Lubbock?
No, that's in Rockwall. It's just between Rockwall and Lubbock and Denton. About 20, 25 miles north here. I can get on a map and show it to you.
Next time
if you can find me any means to get in there up on that creek, you're going to have to go through congressional senator approvals probably. I don't know who. Maybe they couldn't even do it. But there's something there. And I got a feeling. I got a feeling it has something to do with what I'm doing. Okay. Right. I sure enjoyed it. And thanks again. I'll be talking to you. And and
John, we do appreciate it. I thank you, and we'll meet you when you come down. This is Robert McKenzie for Epic Voyagers. That's www.epicvoyagers.com. We've had a great night. I really do appreciate Ken Cherry of Epic Voyagers asking me to do this. It's been a hoot, and I hope to do it again. Thanks a lot. We'll see you all later.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Please join us again next Monday evening for Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council's Epic Voyages. I'm Roger Peacock for Epic. Until next time.